Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm Esther Wickham. As Denver Public Schools move forward with finalizing a new teacher contract, parental right groups have raised concerns over this new contract. Here to explain a little bit more about it is Michigan and Colorado reporter Elise Apel. Elise.
Thanks so much for having me on, Esther. Yeah, so this is a really interesting story. So the Denver Public Schools and the Denver Teachers Union there, called the Denver Classroom Teachers Association, they are currently negotiating their new teacher contract. And they're expected to actually be done negotiating that by the end of the month. So as they're in negotiations, it's come out that there's probably going to be a number of inclusions of different DEI provisions, so diversity, equity, and inclusion provisions in that contract, and a number of parental rights advocacy groups have joined together to push back against the inclusion of those provisions in the contract. So they're really on a short timeline here as the schools move forward with finalizing the contract, but it's a really interesting story. And the parental groups are really hoping that the union and the schools will listen to their feedback and take those provisions out of the contract.
Yeah, and within your story, you specified, if you could go deeper into it, what specific parental right groups are pushing back? And in your story, they said they joined together to send a letter, just maybe detailing that a little bit more of what the letter stated, and what exactly they're saying in opposition.
Yeah, so it's both national groups that have joined on this, but also a couple of Colorado-based groups. So there are three groups in particular that sent the letter, and that's Defending Education, Colorado Parent Advocacy Network, and Protect Kids Colorado. And so they joined together to send this letter, which they say, quote, expresses their deep concern about the inclusion of ideological programming and discriminatory mandates, which is how they're labeling these DEI provisions that they are planning on including in the teacher contract. The letter detailed a number of different ways that they're including DEI in the contract, and specifically from an investigation by Defending Education, they found that there's provisions included race-based programming for teachers, race-based hiring quotas, mandatory equity training, and racial equity analysis tools, among other kind of provisions that they're trying to really reinstate DEI.
In regards to specifically what these schools are saying, you stated some quotes at the end of why this new teacher contract initiative is happening, why the Denver Public Schools think this is a good idea. Could you dig a little bit deeper into that?
I was actually able to speak with the public schools and the teachers union. They gave me a joint statement exclusive to the Center Square. And so they actually talked about how really equity is actually, they called it a core value for both the teachers union and the public schools. They are standing by those DEI provisions and said that they currently have no plans to take those out of the contract. And they also said that they believe they are essential to creating a welcoming environment for both teachers and students, which obviously the teachers groups just totally disagree with.
Has there been a response to that statement specifically from these parental right groups?
Yeah, so I was able to speak with a number of representatives of the parental rights groups, and they were able to kind of give me their perspective on the issue. They really just think that these policies are not necessary or useful, and that they hurt both the teachers and the students. They think that the schools should be focusing on academics, not these kinds of equity initiatives that the schools and the union are really pushing in the contract. It's also really interesting in light of the Trump administration currently being in power. They've obviously done a number of different steps to kind of move away from these DEI policies and these DEI initiatives, especially in education, especially in higher education. The parental rights groups are really hoping that in light of that, the schools and the union will come back and take these initiatives out of their teacher contract.
Yeah, and exactly like you said, with the current administration wanting to value parents, value their thoughts and opinions over their children's education, especially following the recent Supreme Court case, Muhammad v. Taylor, that allowed parents, to opt their children out of various LGBTQ storybooks. I wonder with this new initiative if that's going to be something that will become an issue with the Trump administration if more states begin to accept this kind of teacher contract.
Right. And the Defending Education actually highlighted, kind of in their report, they highlighted teacher contracts across the nation where they found these kind of DE policies in them, and that they found really concerning. But they told me that they are cautiously optimistic that the Denver's public schools and other schools will move away from these kinds of contracts.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Elise, for reporting on this. And for listeners, you can go to thecentersquare.com to read up on this story and other education stories to follow.